Welcome to the August 13th, 2025 meeting of the Municipal Building Commission. Present is Terry DeSisto, Ed Stanton, Jackie Romanicki, Jerry Freecott, Gail Clark, and myself. We have a quorum. The meeting is called to order at 5:30. We have minutes to approve from April 23rd and July 9th. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So, I think because water may be shorter than the library discussion, we're gonna go to water first. So come forward, gentlemen. And I see on our agenda that we have a change order for Waterline Industries that relates to the Pawtucket Water Interconnect.
Correct.
You want to tell us, or do you want to tell us? Who wants to tell us
Sure,
about that?
I can tell. So this is the final balancing change order to essentially close out
okay.
the project. So we have our final balancing change order and our final billing being submitted at the same time. So the balancing change order ends up in a net reduction in the contract price. So the final contract price will be $2,927,837.48. And then at the same time, we have our final billing in the amount of $58,556.75, which will bring us to 100% billed, 100% complete.
And we are 100% complete.
We're 100% complete. We've had all our permits have been closed and everything's set to go.
And let's hope we never need it.
That's right. That's my hope, is that we never need it.
So therefore, I think we have to approve the change order before we can approve the bill.
Correct.
So therefore, a motion is in order to approve the change order.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then we can approve the bill. As Mason just said, is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, where are we on temporary PFAS?
So temporary, the plan is still not running yet. We have the contractors coming in on Monday to install the media, and we can start to do a startup. Unfortunately, at this point in time, I can't run that plant just because of the organics. It's creating TTHMs and HAAs in the system. So we're hoping mid to late September we can actually start it up and run it to the system.
What would allow you to start it up?
So we get water changeover, and the organics will be lower at that time. Historically, organics lower in the late September, early October. So we won't have the formation of those disinfection byproducts.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that project? Then, moving on to the big thing, and maybe Matt would be the guy to talk.
Yes, I was going to turn that over to Matt.
So, what's going on with the permanent PFAS?
So with the permanent PFAS plant, we had bids come in on May 2nd. We assembled the request for authorization to award package. We submitted that to Mass DEP, and took some substantial time for Mass DEP to get back to us, at which point, mid-July, we started hearing some rumblings that they had issues with some of the BABA compliance language in the specifications. By the end of July, they were essentially saying we had to rebid the project. So we had a meeting. Mason, correct me if I'm wrong, you were there, Dennis was there. We had a number of people in the city, including the mayor. We had some state reps. We had a number of people from Mass DEP, from Tater and Howard. We went through essentially what had transpired and what needed to be done to get to an award. And essentially, because of the language and the specifications, DEP did not want to issue an award because of issues with the language, possibly causing the project to not be BABA compliant, which then could jeopardize funding if EPA were to audit the project. So the safe route.
State money is actually coming from the feds, right?
Correct. So all the state PFAS projects are actually being funded through the EPA, through federal funds. So the safe route was to rebid. I believe it was probably the first week of August that EPA had actually closed that door and said, yes, you do have to rebid. At which point, once we had that confirmation, we basically went full steam ahead to reassemble the contract documents to rebid, make sure that we appropriately coordinated with DEP to address issues with the BABA language, and also incorporate any of the updates that we had from our addendum throughout the previous bid. So that project, the rebid has hit the streets as of today. So those contract documents are back on the street. We're looking at a 3-week bid period for subs plus a 2-week bid period for GCs. And I do not have a calendar in front of me, but if you give me 1 second, that would put us at September 3rd for a sub bid opening and September 17th for a GC bid opening. And that could flux a little bit depending on any questions that come in or whether any of the GCs or subs request an extension to those bid deadlines, which we will be pretty tight on not flexing on those due to the extension that we have from Mass DEP. They were very gracious in extending, giving us an extension to November 30th. Which also extends the principal forgiveness on this project, which is a great thing. So we're still under the 2024 funding plan. We still have principal forgiveness, and we have until November 30th to essentially award the contract. So with those tentative dates, it would be nice to have a contract tentatively awarded probably mid to late October. And that still gives us a little bit of fluff on the back end up to November 30th, which we're hoping not to have to use.
So 2 things. One is, in our experience, rebidding always costs us money. I hope. How many bidders did we have last time?
I believe we had 4 GCs.
And do we think all of them will still be interested in bidding? Obviously, they know everyone else's numbers now.
I have had some conversation, more so with the subcontractors about concerns with other people knowing the numbers of the project. Honestly, our response to that is, we apologize. It's out of our hands. There's nothing we can do about rebidding this project. We're basically required to do it. And we understand the situation you're in, but we would really appreciate you to consider rebidding the project. So that's basically the approach we're taking. I already have 24 requests for the documents, and the documents haven't even been out for, less than 24 hours. So that's really promising. A lot of them are already pre-qualified subs and GCs. I think it is promising right now, and hopefully we do see that the actual bids come in.
So if the bids come in on September 17th, if the date doesn't slide a little, how quickly do you need us to meet to make a recommendation to the mayor about awarding a contract? Do you need us to schedule a meeting? And Mason told me we may be needing to have a school meeting on the 23rd. So would we try to do a double header that night? Would we schedule a meeting on the 24th, or could we wait until October 1st? Because I don't want to mess you up. I don't want to mess the time frame up, but I just want to make sure that we do what we need to do.
Yeah.
We can.
I was just saying it'd ultimately be dependent on what Tata and Howard feels they need to go through the bids. If that's effectively 6 days. So if the 23rd works, we can basically back-to-back meetings. If not, the October 1st is our regularly scheduled meeting, which would be another week. It's still sort of within the timeline that we anticipate, but anything we can do to expedite this with the principal forgiveness cutoff on November 30th, we want to do. So we want to take whatever action we can. So it's kind of dependent on Tata and Howard's expectations.
So does the 6 days, the 23rd, give you enough time?
Yes, if bids come in on the 17th, I believe last round, we turned around a recommendation of award to you within 24 to 48 hours.
Okay.
Everybody's pre-qualified, so we don't need to go back and look at references or financials or anything of that sort. So honestly, it's just as long as everyone submits the required documents and we can put together that recommendation and get it over to you, Mason, and get it into your hands prior to the meeting, we would probably be more than fine with something on the 23rd or the 24th. If for some reason the 17th gets bumped to the 24th, we'd again probably be fine with something on October 1st as well.
So let me turn to the commission members, because Mason told me before the meeting started that we're trying to schedule a school building committee closeout on the 23rd, and I would prefer that we did a double header rather than meeting 2 nights in a row. Are you people available on the 23rd of September for a nice double header meeting?
I think so.
This is a Tuesday, by the way.
And it's
Starting at
We would be
5:30.
trying to do the Zito room,
Yeah.
so just because of space. So this is a Tuesday because of scheduling conflicts. There's really no Wednesdays available over there for about a month.
And yeah, the council thinks they're entitled to this room on Tuesday nights anyway.
It's fine with me.
I can do it. I can do anything.
So would we start at 5 or 5:30
I
or?
think we'd start at 5:30, and what we might do is just schedule the school meeting for 5:45 or something like that, Mason,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So,
The
we'll-
23rd?
looks like we'll be good, have a
Tuesday,
quorum.
September 23rd.
What date is that, Jack?
The 23rd of September,
Tuesday.
a Tuesday.
I'm gonna be away.
Okay, that leaves us,
I'm fine. Jackie said she's fine.
and I'm fine, so are you okay, Ed, with the 23rd? All right, then I think we'll have to go with it. So everybody put down 5:30 MBC, SBC in your calendar.
Yep.
On the 23rd, and obviously Mason will confirm A, on the school, and B, if this slides or not. So, anything else we need to hear from you? Any other questions from commission members? All right, well then, thank you, and we'll see you in a while.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right. So, let us turn. By the way, our next regular meeting looks like it's 9/3. So we got 9/3 and 10/1 and 9/23.
Correct.
So let's turn to the library. And we have the director here in person and the assistant director. Do you want to introduce her?
Yeah, we'll sit over the other side because we can't see the board. So I did decide to come in first.
You gotta come up. You gotta come up.
I did decide last minute to come in person because I'm right down the street and I wanted Darcy to have the ability to meet you all and learn a little bit more about the project. Darcy Schillinger is the new assistant director at the library. She is a long-term library employee, born and raised in Attleboro, and is eager to be the library rep when I'm on vacation for only a part of December, only a small portion of December.
Well, you wouldn't have an office anyway. You'd be thrown out of the building, right?
We're going to be right here. I want that seat. No, I don't. No, I don't. Just to be clear.
Okay. Good, so thank you, good to meet you. And so I think maybe the thing to do is to call on Mark Zawatsky to give us an update.
Well, good evening, Mr. Chairman. Great to be here. We're in front of you this evening. We did have 2 bid openings on Friday the 8th. The first one was for moving services, and the second was for the flooring replacement, both at the library. And good evening, Amy. Good evening, Darcy. Both Darcy and Amy were in attendance at the pre-bid walkthrough, and so they got to hear some of the conversations that were going on, and we're looking forward to a very smooth project. And I wanted to turn it over to Angela Olson from LLB Architects, our designer of record on the project, so that she can go through the bid tabulations for both of these bids and discuss her LLB's recommendations and any questions pursuant to thereto.
And is that the Hill Roberts gym behind you?
I was just,
It is, thank you, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
for noticing.
Did you do that project?
I did.
yeah,
Well, I can't say that it was on time, but it was certainly below budget.
Well, especially because
We
we
did
got
it
all
right.
those, we got all those liquidated damages too, right?
That's correct, sir.
Good. Angela, talk to us.
Hey everyone. So most of you know, I'm Angela Olson with LLB, the project manager for this Attleboro project, and then we have Jessica White, our designer. So we received the bids for both services, 2 for flooring and 3 for the moving services, and came up with our recommendations. We sent over a draft letterhead to Mason a little while ago that includes our recommendations. So I don't know if those were received, but we can
Yeah,
go over them.
we do have that, and Mason is prepared to read that into the record, but why don't we start with the moving first? And why don't you tell us the names of the 3 companies and the amount that they bid?
Sure.
I can do that, Angela, if you want.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't have it open.
All right, Mark?
Okay, so I'll actually share it for the record. So we had 3 bids for moving services. Meyer Incorporated, $125,960. Wakefield Moving at $79,120. And American Moving at $94,633. I've read these into the record the way that the bid envelopes were opened in that order. So that's where we're at, $125,960, $79,120, and $94,633.
So the apparent low bidder is the 79,000 bidder, which is moving services out of Wakefield, correct?
Wakefield Moving, yes.
And the apparent second low bidder would be American, and the third is Meyer. So, Angela, turning back to you, did you have a chance to check references, qualifications, et cetera, on these 3 movers?
Yes, we did. We received a couple references from Wakefield, although those were a bit split. I will note that we asked to provide 5 references that were qualified with experience of 80,000, moving 80,000 volumes. They only seem to list about 3. So in those 3, 2 of them, it was kind of split in their reference. So I'm kind of a bit uncertain at this time. And then American, they weren't able to provide any references. There were no library experiences, no references listed, only some project experiences from one of the employees, and then we received great references from Mayor.
And you put, well, at least Brian Valentine from your firm put this into writing and addressed a letter to Mason, which is literally hot off the press. And so, Mason, do you want to read that into the record?
Yeah, sure. So this was this is a draft recommendation from LLB at this time for their moving contractor recommendation. So they stated that this letter includes the findings from LLB Architects' review of the moving bids received and opened on August 8th, 2025, and includes our recommendations to the awarding authority. At the time of the moving contract bid opening on August 8th, 2025, Wakefield Moving and Storage Services LLC was the apparent low bidder. LLB Architects and the City of Attleboro reviewed the bid for the apparent low bidder, Wakefield Moving and Storage Services LLC, contacted references provided by Wakefield Moving and Storages LLC, and found Wakefield Moving and Storages LLC to be not responsible low bidder, based on reference checks, lack of project manager/supervisor experience, move methodology, and overall understanding of similar libraries. LLB Architects reviewed the bid for the second low apparent bidder, American Moving Installation Incorporated, and found incomplete required items based on the specifications, and contacted references provided for American Moving Installation Incorporated, and found American Moving Installation Incorporated to be not responsible low bidder based on reference checks, and they did not quote per specifications and have no experience with library projects. LLB Architects reviewed the bid for the third low apparent bidder, Meyer Incorporated, contacted references provided for Meyer Incorporated, and found Meyer Incorporated to be responsible low bidders. Although price is a concern, the following are critical in the bid selection process as mentioned in the specifications: references, project manager and supervisor's experience in overseeing a library move, methodology, and overall demonstrated understanding of libraries. The State of Attleboro reserves the right to reject any bid which complies with specifications and accept a higher bid which also complies, providing that in their judgment the higher bid has additional value which justifies the difference in price. LLB recommends awarding the moving services contract to Meyer Incorporated for the Attleboro Public Library flooring replacement project.
Okay. Mark, do you concur with that analysis?
Yes, I've had conversations with LLB. Have reviewed all the bid packages received and concur that the greatest value to the city, in my opinion, would be achieved with Meyer based on the non-responsiveness and the lack of conformance with the procurement documents.
Yeah, as I understand it, for instance, the second apparent low bidder, American Moving, proposed crates rather than boxes, so they did not comply with our bid requirement. And I know that that was intentional on our part because a whole lot of crates disappeared in the high school project, if you remember, and we got charged for them. And so, the boxes you buy right up front, and they're much cheaper than renting crates and paying for them later when they can't be found. So, Mason, do you also concur?
Yeah, at this point, I mean, I would agree with the recommendations from LLB and Port. It's unfortunate when bidders aren't responsive to the specifications you put on the street, but ultimately it's the city's responsibility to make sure that we have a successful project. And sometimes, the number that's provided to you doesn't actually mean that you're going to get the service that you expect. And sometimes for the right service and a proper project, you have to pay a little bit more. So that's the unfortunate reality of what's in front of us. I think LLB was pretty clear that they had really strong positive responses on Meyer, who again is who they're recommending is the highest cost bid, but was really the only one that they considered conforming to the bid specifications.
And Amy?
And Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to add in the cost estimate by LLB's move management consultant for the moving services based on the totality of the project requirements was $125,000. Meyer's quote at $125,960 is less than 1% in excess of that. So anytime that we have a cost estimate prepared by a consultant and bids come in within 1%, I would say that that's, generally speaking, a favorable outcome, and that the lower prices that we received were full of qualifications, clarifications, exclusions, and nuances that would probably lead to more confusion and upset during the course of this fast-track project that has incredible velocity and pace designed into it because of the desire to have the library closed the shortest amount of time possible. So for those reasons in addition, I think it helps support the Meyer recommendation by LLB.
And Amy?
So we've had a lot of talks with the consultant, the move management consultant, and I've heard a lot of horror stories about what could go wrong and what is special about the library. And I feel like if we don't have someone who knows what they're doing for this project, we are going to be recovering from whatever goes wrong for months and months afterwards. I mean, we've talked a lot about how well used the library is. The first 3 weeks of summer, we had almost 500 people through the building every single day. And this is their families taking out books. They are people studying in the study rooms and the carols. The newest statistics had us we're like the #1 sales library for interlibrary loans. So it's 800 items a year. The second place library in the 70 library network is at 400 items. We are so busy serving so much of the city. This is money well spent. I don't have staff to fix this. I barely have staff to keep our public service desks full for 60 hours a week. A professional mover who has done this before is really important to the quickness of this project.
And making sure we can find everything when it's put back.
And everything it's the technical services, like the people don't even see the whole 4th floor of the library, how everything gets cataloged. And remember, all of our buyers are making book orders while they're not in the building, and so technical services is going to have boxes of items to catalog as soon as the doors open again.
Okay. So Mason, do we need to take a series of votes to find that the apparent low bidder Wakefield is not, did not have a responsive bid, and then the same thing with American, and then to recommend a third vote to recommend the award to Meyer? Is that what we should do?
I don't necessarily think it would be necessary to follow that course of action. I think you would really just need to accept LLB's recommendation for the reasons that they proposed.
Just vote to recommend to the mayor that the city enter into a contract with Meyer Inc.
Correct. In accordance with the LLB's recommendation.
So before we get to that, before we ask for a motion, questions, comments from the commission members? Okay, then I guess a motion is in order to recommend to the mayor awarding a contract to Meyer Inc.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Mark, do you want to review the bids for the flooring?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, on the screen, replacement flooring bids. We received two bids. One was from a company called Mass Floors, Inc., and then a second from Capital Carpet and Flooring, Inc. I'm sorry to put the comma with the Inc. The Mass Floors bid came in with a discrepancy. It was written in words at $300,545 and presented in numbers as at $313,545. And then they provided two alternate prices. Alternate one was for tile work in bathrooms above and beyond that which was included within the base scope of the contract with documents, and an alternate two for providing rubber material on top of the concrete stairs in one of the stairway. I think it's number 4. And so we have two bids here. And again, we have a recommendation based on references and review of the documents submitted based on the procurement package, and I'll turn it over to Angela.
Yeah, maybe because Angela has written a letter, we can ask Mason to read that letter into the record.
Sure, I can do the same thing. Again, this is a draft recommendation from LLB, a general contractor recommendation. The letter includes the findings from LLB Architects' review of the general bids received and opened on August 8th, 2025, and includes our recommendations to the awarding authority. At the time of the general contract bid opening on August 8th, 2025, Mass Floors, Inc. was the apparent low bidder. Following that bid opening, LLB and the city received a request via email on August 11th, 2025 to reject their Mass Floors Incorporated bid due to, quote, a clerical error in our bid price. Unfortunately, we won't be able to proceed with the contract. Please reject our company from this bid, end quote. While the specifications do not formally permit bids being withdrawn, an additional discussion with Mass Floors Incorporated about their clerical error, they revealed another flaw in their submitted bid. Based on these errors and flaws, LLB Architects finds them not responsible and recommends rejecting Mass Floor Incorporated's low bid. LLB Architects reviewed the bid for the second low apparent bidder, Capital Carpet, contacted references provided for the above-mentioned contractor, and in conjunction with their DCAM files, found Capital Carpet to be responsible low bidders. LLB recommends awarding the general contract to Capital Carpet for the Attleboro Public Library flooring replacement project. We suggest that alternates 1 and or 2 be awarded if funding sources are available. And then, I'll just state for the record from basically kind of the progression of things. As noted in the letter from LLB, Brian Valentine and I were contacted via email directly from Mass Floors at the end of the day on Friday, when they, we had identified their original clerical error that you saw in the bid calculation with between the written numbers.
They left the number 13 out of the words, but put it in the numbers.
Correct, and that can be, technically the written numbers prevail per the specs and per sort of general prevailing bidding procurement laws. But it can also be waived as a minor informality. So for clarification, we followed up to kind of get clarity on what were they identifying as the clerical error. Was it just the written versus numbered figure? And then ultimately, they said they responded back and they used the term embarrassing as it is. They made 2 errors in their proposal. One in writing out the base bid price, and then also significantly miscalculating the amount of work for alternate 1, which again, a little bit surprising when you look at the alternate 1 prices between the 2 bids. They were so close. So I think it really suggests that they just aren't looking to perform this contract. It's unfortunate. They basically formally requested that we reject their bid, and we're kind of left in a situation where we it'd be somewhat irresponsible for us to try to engage a contractor who's not really actively willing to do the work, and who also made so many errors and had some other errors in their bid that was non-conforming to the specifications. So I think I agree with the LLB's recommendation, and it's unfortunate, but I think Capital Carpet's a really good firm, and they've done good work with the city on other projects as well. We have good experience with them, and they were, I think, the ones who submitted basically every question about the bid and trying to get clarity, and they've been pretty active in this bid. So I think they'll be a good partner.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, if you force somebody to do the work for $300,000
Yeah.
when they wanted to bid $313, they're going to find a way to cut corners. We're not going to be happy with the product.
Right.
So, it's just human nature. They're going to do everything they can to, reduce their loss. Anything to add to that, Mark?
As part of the LLB due diligence, we reviewed their update statement, a required element of the procurement, and that is not something that's able to be waived or viewed as an informality. And their DCAM update statement had a number of errors within and was not accurate nor current. So for a number of reasons, I don't think they really put in the administrative time in order to prepare their bid. And I agree with LLB's recommendation that Capital Carpets and Flooring be recommended to the MBC for consideration.
Angela, anything else you want to add to that? You can feel free to say no.
Yeah, no, just quickly go over some references. Mass Floors, the references that they provided were all for resilient flooring. There was like one small classroom carpet that they had done, and I didn't get any responses back from either of those. And Capital had really great references. So.
Yeah, I mean, if I remember right, we had Capital in the high school, didn't we?
I can't remember.
Could be wrong, but in any event, So therefore, we now move Mason to the budget and what we have left and could afford and whether the alternates are still in play. So do you want to talk about that?
So under the current structure, with Meyer being the recommended moving service, and again, in sort of the critical path of this project, you need a moving service company in place before you have, a general contractor. You can't do the flooring without a moving service, so we look at them as sort of the first priority. So with Meyer, if Meyer, is being recommended, and if the city contracts with Meyer under that bid price, we would then be able to only do the base bid under the current available funding. So on the general contractor side, we'd only be able to do the base bid, and we'd have a small contingency remaining, but not enough to act on alternates 1, and then you can't act on alternate 2 if you don't act on alternate 1. So I think what we'd be looking for right now is a recommendation to award the base bid in accordance with the LOB's recommendation, and then also accept the recommendation that we should pursue alternates 1 and 2 should funding allow. So we can take a look internally at the funding available through potential deduction change orders and other places where we might have some savings coming back to the project, as well as potentially reaching, going to council for additional funding. So at this point, we wouldn't be able to add alternates 1 and 2, but the priority of this project and the reason it was a base bid and then alternates is the base bid's the priority. These 2 other components can be done without a moving service company. So there's a world where you could do them in a different timeline. You could do them under a different contract, like some of this work. It doesn't necessarily have to happen simultaneous. There's obvious savings when you have sort of mobilization, demobilization. And I think we'll still try to pursue those options. But currently, all we can afford in this construct is Meyer as the moving service and Capital Carpet with their base bid.
Amy, are there any other sources of funds you know about? Do the Friends of the Library have an extra $50,000 or $70,000 they might want to kick in?
Or a Tyler. My wheels are already turning on how to do the other projects because, I think I made it clear before that having a mover who knows what they're doing is absolutely 100% the most important thing to the library.
So what you're saying is you're going to explore with Mason and the mayor other sources of funding to see whether, because even though if we don't accept these, if within a reasonable period of time we decide we would like to go forward with a change order, we can certainly ask Capital whether they would hold their price.
Yeah, I think at this point we could ask them to see if they're willing to hold their price while we would go through the contracting phase of this project, and which still gives us some time to kind of see if there's other potential opportunities. Or, again, we can kind of pursue funding at a later date as well.
As a separate project.
Either as a separate project or through the change order process down the road. If I think there's still opportunities there, but again, these were broken out as ad alternates because we looked at them as sort of things that would be beneficial to the library to be done, but not the critical project that needed to be done.
We wanted to make sure that we fit within the budget. And
correct.
So it's a very good thing that we had these 2 ad alternates, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were separated out, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of the justification behind doing it, is there was a critical project that needs to be addressed, and we are able to address it within the current budget. And some of these additional items that we identify as important, we may not be able to do it immediately. I think we would request to see if Capital Carpet would be willing to hold their bids on the alternates while we pursue potential funding, and then kind of go from there.
Any questions?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll just, as I did on the moving services, compare to the LLB consultant cost estimate. So LLB's independent third-party cost estimating firm, A.M. Fogarty, did a series of estimates and updates, and the number for the flooring replacement was $320,178, and with Capital Carpet we're at $334,365, or less than approximately 4% differential. and that last estimate was in January. And knowing the uncertainty of the market and a variety of other factors, I feel as though their number is fair and reasonable based on AM Fogarty's independent third-party cost estimate. So for that reason and all of LOB's due diligence, I certainly recommend Capital Carpet and Flooring.
Okay, then a motion is in order to recommend to the mayor entering a contract for the base bid only with Capital.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So, we need to pay Mark's bill for $7,425. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so have we finished our business for the evening?
I believe we have. I just say thank you to Angelo, Jessica, and Mark. There's been a lot of back and forth in the last few days to try to expedite this, and we met for over an hour today, so it's been been all hands on deck. So I appreciate their efforts and working closely with the city, as this has been a rather complicated bid result. This is a little bit unusual to kind of have these many moving parts and challenges come up. So I appreciate their responsiveness and working closely with us and just expedited review process.
And the city
Thank you very
solicitor.
much for saying that. Mason, quick question. Based on this evening's recommendations by the MDC to the mayor, would you like LLB to move forward with draft AIA contracts that would then be reviewed by the city's solicitor? Or do we want to hold off on that? Or if you could just help inform that conversation?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So yes, I think we should move forward as such with the base bid for the flooring, and then with the moving services bid, and then we'll take that information as well as the recommendation and reasons for disqualifying the other bidders to the city solicitor to review and sort of go from there.
And I also want to recognize the fact that the city solicitor worked hard and quickly with Mason since Friday, and we appreciate his services as well. And as always, thank you, Mason, for all the work you do for us. So,
Yeah, it's great to have him back, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
we missed you when you
Yes,
were
thank
gone.
you, Mason.
Thank you, Mason.
All right, so are we going to adjourn at 6:12? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank
Aye.
you.